Hey everyone! In this video I'll show you how I structure and format the Miro flowchart for my AI assistant to make it look more readable and presentable. This is part 2 of a 3-part series, so if you haven't seen part 1, I recommend you start there. And with that said, let's get going. Okay, so here we are again where we left off yesterday, and we are going to do 5 things today to make this more readable and more presentable. The first one is that we are going to add a title and a logo. Then we are going to add sections for structure. Then we'll add some coloring, and then some box aligning and structuring so everything looks well formatted. And lastly, we'll also add a frame to the whole thing. So let's get going first with the title and logo. And by title, I mean 2 things. First of all, the document title. You see right now I just left it at the standard. We can rename it here to something like AI Assistant for Language Schools. Or you could then also add the individual client's name here, of course, if you have one, and save it like this. Actually, we don't need to share it. We just want to have the title changed. And then a second thing that I also like to do here is actually add a title on top here. Something like this size. And this is going to be basically the same again. Potentially you have different things on this whiteboard as well for the client later. So then you can also name this flowchart, for example. Like this, flowchart for AI assistant for language schools. Well, that's a bit unwordy, but still good to have a title here. And the last thing to do here is also to add your logo. Let's make it into a reasonable size, and then typically the logo fits well on the top right, and then it will look more branded like your content. All right, that was step 1. Step 2 is to add sections for structure. And what I mean by that is to add some boxes behind. For example, here on the left side, this is obviously an introduction block. Then we have a kind of block here with the AI chatbot. This is a booking call block, another AI response block, and a do nothing block. And then there is some sort of an outro block here. So we can easily mark that. When we, for example, draw a square here, we'll need to make sure this has some kind of a filling. Let's have a very light color here, something like this. Let's also get rid of the outline. And at this point, it's useful to learn a keyboard shortcut. It's great to know a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but if you just know 1 or 2 in the software, this is one to learn. And on Mac, that is, you press the function key and then arrow up or arrow down. And that brings the object you're selecting currently forward or backward. And that's so important if you want to send something to the background or forward. And if you want to right click and search for this send to back and send to front every time, you'll need a lot of time. So this is one I'd recommend you to memorize. And so now we can first of all identify the blocks by just putting the box sort of around it. We'll always need to send it backwards. That's why this shortcut is already coming in handy. Sort of like this is a block. And then here we have another one. I guess like this. And at this point, you'll notice that the kind of bad alignment becomes obvious. Like that the items don't really match with each other very well. But that's also something we'll attack in a second. And the last block is the outer block here. And we can select all of these and put them in here. All right, so now we roughly see the blocks. We can also give them titles. Let's, for speed, select them all and make sure the title is left aligned and top aligned. That makes it easier to not collide with all the icons in here. This is, for example, the intro block. This one we could call AI block 1. Yeah, and you notice there is already an issue here with the kind of collision with the blocks. So let's make this bigger, and one quick workaround is to actually have this coming from the right side here. And here is AI block 2. This is a call block and nothing block. We can make the font a bit smaller here. Something like this, and exit block. Great. So now we have sections which provide quite a bit more structure already, but it looks sort of messy. However, before we go to clean up this, we'll first also do another design thing, which is add colors. And by colors, I mean pointing out what is a question, what is an AI input, what is another special element. And the first thing I'll mark here is the start and end. These, I think, are kind of special things to keep track of. So we can select this, and as a fill color, for example, choose yellow, and yellow here as well. And now, as we already have 3 different colors, I think it's a great idea to start tracking what each color means. So, for example, yellow means start, end. Then the red one, that is an AI answer. We can leave that as a category. And then what I like to do is kind of mark the user input. So, for example, for buttons, we can have a red outline here. Yeah, like this. We can make it a bit thicker so it's more visible. And we can call it user option. And we can do the same for user free input, but make it blue instead. Like this. And now it's great to learn another keyboard shortcut. And on Mac, this is Command Option C and then Command Option V for copying the style and pasting the style. That makes it a lot easier to here just Command Option C and then here Command Option V. And you see you don't always need to select the blue color and the line thickness and do this every time, but you can just kind of select this openly. So here we have the same for the email. This is also a free input. Then we have options again for the user to say if the email is correct or not. Okay, then from here, how can I help? These are actually also all options. So they can say, I have a question, or I want a call, or I don't need anything. And then if we follow the first thing, they can type a question here. Yeah, and now you see, actually here is something missing. I made a mistake here, and that becomes obvious now because of this process. So this question thing, this is something that actually the AI or our AI assistant asks the user. And after this, there is actually the need for a user input field, which I forgot to put here. So thanks to our labeling and coloring process, this kind of mistake becomes obvious. And that wasn't even intentional in my demonstration here. But if you also have a similar process and you also do coloring and stuff, then you might also find things that you missed before. And so we'll just quickly make some space here and make sure that there is this kind of missing block here, which is the question. That is a user free input. And we'll make sure the arrows all work out correctly. And we'll do the same thing over here as well in the other AI block. And then we do have options again. Is this another question? This should actually be blue because it's a user input. So let's make this blue. And then for the other questions, these are user choices again. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Here also, if they want to call, they can choose yes or no. And if they want to call, then they'll end up here. They're asked to do something. They just take this action, and then they can ask another question if they want. They come through here. Yes, and if they want nothing, they have a chance to enter a free user input here as well. And then these are just all text blocks with information and no more interaction. So that coloring process made it also a lot clearer already. And now if you want, you could also add one more color. Let's just make it, for clarity's sake, we can even offer a different color for things that are kind of AI assistant text. And we can do that, for example, with this. Well, yeah, let's do it like this, and then we can change the text to black. And then it's even more clear what is a text coming from the AI assistant. So again, Command Option C and Command Option V. This is a greeting. Then we are asking for their interest, asking for the name, asking for the email, checking if the email is correct. This is also a message from the bot. Then the AI is prompting the user to ask a question if they go down here. This is a text block. This is also a message from the bot, but that's a special case that comes from the LLM model. So we will just leave that in the red. Then this prompt if they want another question is from the bot. This is a question from the bot. They can get a call bot, and so on and so forth. This one as well. And these goodbye messages, they're also all this kind of message. And probably I shouldn't have made that bold because that doesn't obviously convey any meaning. So let's select all of them. And now we group them. That's not what we want. Instead, we just get the shapes. And now we can, for all of them, choose to make them bold and then all of them unbold. And now they're all not bold. So that's what I mean by adding coloring for readability. It adds a lot of clarity, which step means what. And it kind of replaces the different shapes like diamonds or whatever shapes that you traditionally see in flowchart diagrams. But because they're not that common, especially when I'm potentially talking to a language school, I don't think any language school will know that a diamond shape is supposed to mean a question. So this way it's just easier and more clear, and they can always easily see here which color and which outline means what. And now we're coming to step 4 of the 5 steps that we are going through in this video, and that is basically aligning the boxes for a structure. I think everyone sees at this point that the whole work that we did here now became sort of messy, and the way we start aligning this is first with the big boxes, then with the smaller boxes, and then again with the bigger boxes, and we sort of go back and forth until that whole thing looks decent. And so the obvious thing to start with is indeed to align these here to make them sort of the same height. They align quite well with these guiding lines here, and we'll make them all the same height. Like this, and the exit block should align here roughly. Yes, and now what I like to do is sort of also standardize the width of these blocks. So you see in the intro block, we basically have 4 of these actions next to each other. And in the add block 1 and 2, there are 2. In the call block, also 2 next to each other. And in the nothing block, there is just 1. And a very easy way to do that is that we just take any random block here. And we also basically see how much space there is between each of the blocks. And so now it actually is even more clear if we add the outline. That's not necessary, but I'm doing it for clarity now. And now we just sort of simulate how much space there should be by adding these blocks next to each other. And as I mentioned, we have 4. So that means 4 times the block and 5 times the spacing, right? And so now we can get the width. And then for the next block, where we have only 2 actions, we just take this part and we move it over to here, wherever it begins. And we make sure this width fits. And we continue here. By the way, this is an interesting case for grouping. Then you can just select them all together. And we also fix the width. And you see now we need more space here. So we already know, without going into all the detail here, we just know that this needs to move to the right and give us more space here. An alternative, by the way, would be for this one to think about if we could just get them on one line. And actually, that's possible. So let's do that. Then we'll save some space and make it look even nicer. And this stuff we'll fix afterwards. For now, let's consider the big picture first. So we can again ungroup, and we only need 3 here, like 1 and the 2 spacings. And then we select everything again, move it over here, and we align this one. And this one actually is also again only one action horizontally, so we can do it like this. And now we have the correct width, but they are of course spaced quite randomly. So what we can do now is select them all. And here is this alignment option. It's called Align Objects. You can click it and we can align, or here it's called Distribute Horizontally. And if you do that, now you see they all have the same space. They are already top and bottom aligned, but if you're not sure, you can also check again here and just click Align Top. Actually, you see it wasn't perfect. They moved slightly, and you can always do this kind of small check. Here you see, if you zoom in, this is not perfectly aligned, so we need to do some small fixes here. This one as well. And we can, like later when everything else is fixed, these kind of details become much more obviously visible. Now, because everything is so messy, it's kind of hard to see sometimes if things are aligned or not. So here we are. And then the bottom block, for this one, we don't care about the width spacing. We'll just align it sort of like this. So it's the same with all of them. And so we just did that for the width. Now we can do sort of the same process, but instead of horizontally, we do it also vertically. And here we see we have 6 actions vertically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5. So we'll just make all of them kind of 8 actions high and make sure these are aligned inside as well. So basically, the way we do that is also by taking action here and getting the space that is not correct yet. This is a narrower vertical space, so we'll make this smaller and we'll put this here. And then we'll just start getting the measurement. And now for speed, what we can also do is just select all of them, drag it down here. Now we have already 6. We get 2 more, and then we are at 8. And Yeah, the top spacing is a bit different because we have a title here. We can also ignore that. So now we see how tall these blocks should be here. So we'll make space for this one that's below, and we can just make them all to the right level of tallness here. Or I guess it's theoretically it's called height to put it properly. And now we can start aligning them in both ways, vertically and horizontally. Like now we know that the big blocks, they have the right size, right? So now we can start aligning the actions inside of the blocks. And so again, we take these small helpers here. We can again get the spacing from this intro block. By the way, even in the intro block, this is kind of not correct right now. Like I didn't do it correctly. I just assumed that in the intro block these are spaced correctly before, right? But actually this I didn't do right, because their spacing in the intro block here and here is also not the same. So I'll need to fix that, and I'll need to first take this spacing here and make sure that the intro block as well has the right spacing. So let's go here. And this one as well. Yeah, let's just align this first on the left side with these here. And then this one goes here. And now you see there is some issue here again. So if you do this perfectly planned and in a correct order, you can do it correctly the first time, but it's easier to just try around, and then you will get better over time, and the thing gets prettier over time, and you'll see where you need to fix stuff. So after you have this kind of spacing, you can now see that this one needs to align here. And this kind of magnetic spacing, it attaches magnetically more if this kind of ruler is closer by. So if you want to like have it stronger, you can bring it closer to the object to be aligned, like here, and then it will align nicely. And if another one, like you want this one to align with the start, right? So now it always tries to align with the interest here. So what to do now is you get this out of the way. And now if you do this one, now it's forced to align with the start. And now you can put this one back into place as well. This one should also be fine. These are all correct. You can also see it with the eye. And then this one is not correct totally, so we'll align it here. And now this whole first block is fine. Now we'll continue with the second one. And again, we want to have kind of the stronger magnetic effect of this ruler. So we'll pull it to the right. And also that makes it very obvious that this one, you need to pull it up. And you can do the same for the vertical or horizontal alignment. So we'll just select these. And if you press Shift, then you can move these objects around along a straight line. So you can either move them up and down, or even diagonally, or in this case we want them horizontally. And so we move it over here to match exactly with this block with the width. And now we can align them. And to be quicker here, because there are a lot of blocks here that are not correctly aligned, we can select all of them that should be in a line. We move them a bit more to the right to make it more clear how they are wrong. Then we select the kind of ruler block, and now we can just go here and align left. And now in a kind of vertical spectrum, they're already perfectly aligned. And if you want to be very efficient, you can actually do the same the horizontal way. And like, for example, here, you see all these blocks here, they are rather too low. There is no block that's too high. So we can save time if you're thinking ahead and you have the overview by just aligning these top. And now these are vertically speaking, correctly aligned, right? And so you could do the same here. You just need to be careful. If one of them, like let's say this block here is too high, and you try to do the same thing, and now you align them top again. Now what happens is that you move all of them too high. So that's what you not want. That's why I said it's better, if you're not sure, to first move them more strongly in the wrong direction. That's probably overdoing it, but I'm just showing you what I mean. And then aligning top, and now you can be sure that they're correctly aligned. In this case, it's quite nice, like this blue box that draws automatically around it makes it very easy to see that both of them are aligned too high. And so here we can just use both of them, align them bottom. And then we can choose one more. This one is too low, and now we can align this one top. And now these are all correct. And we do the same with these blocks here and this one. They all need to be lower, so we align them bottom. Here the same as well. Oh, now we selected something wrongly. If you select something wrongly and you can't unselect it somehow, just deselect everything again and then select everything again individually and align bottom. And again we align bottom. And this might look a bit boring. Here we do the lower one first, because otherwise they get in the way of this one. Like this. And like this. And so now we aligned this whole block here correctly, the AI block 1. And the others we just aligned them vertically already, but not yet horizontally. So for these, like this is just one column block, right? So all these actions, what we can do here to make it even quicker is we can just select all of them, and they're all outside. So we click this call block as well. First we right align it to have all of them inside of the block, like so. And now we center align it, so everything is in the middle. And with this approach, you actually don't need this kind of guiding ruler rocks here. It's already done. Well, you see some details are messed up with the arrows. That we need to fix still, but that's a different issue. And then this doesn't work here, but you can do it in a different way. Let me show you what I mean. You can just choose these three here. Make sure that is aligned like roughly first here. Then we select all of them on the left side and we left align them, and the ones on the right side we also left align them. And now you align them with each other, but not necessarily inside of this yellow block, right? So now a way to do that is you select them all and you can group them. And after grouping them and then also selecting the yellow block, now you can again center align, or basically horizontally align. And now the block is counted as one whole object. And if that group is inside of the block and you both center align them, then they will also be correct. And these ones, I think you'll already have guessed, you don't even need to group them. You can just align them horizontally, all of them. And so now the whole top part is fixed. The only thing that remains to fix now is this bottom part. And one thing that's not totally necessary, but I also like to be kind of consistent with the spacing here. So you see here, the spacing is 155. And by the way, if you don't see this number, you can turn that on in the settings. If you go here to the main menu and you select View, then you can here toggle on the object dimensions. And I do that because I really like to work with numbers. And in part 3 of this video series, we'll need to work with numbers a lot more. So there it becomes necessary. But for now, I just recommend you to turn it on. And that means now you can also make sure this is 155 here as well. And now with that same width and same height, it's very easy to align this exit block and make sure the spacing between these two blocks and between these blocks and also these blocks and basically all the blocks is always the same. So that already makes sense. And then we also need to take care of the height. The maximum number of blocks we have vertically on top of each other is 2. So basically we need 3 spacing blocks and 2 of the action blocks. So let's put that here. And we can adjust the size. And then the thanks block goes up. For the horizontal alignment, I like to just have it aligned with the one above here, where that one is coming from, because that way basically you don't need to have unnecessary curves or corners in this arrow. And here, like, this is a bit of a workaround, but an easy one is to just enter a line break here and have this on 2 lines so it doesn't interrupt. And then here, this one, we'll put it higher. We'll also align it with the blocks from, or with the actions from the block above, and on the left we'll align it here. This one, we'll align it here, and thanks, that one we'll put like so, actually like this, yes. And now it's more elegant to, I would say, have this one listed twice, and then we also can avoid this unnecessarily complex arrow here. Again, you see there is the magnetic issue, but these are all aligned, so we can just leave that here, that's fine. And then this line just goes like so, and we have another line going like this. And then we can just basically erase all this ruler stuff. We don't really need it anymore. You can also push it to the side if you're still planning to use it, but it's also very quick to just make it again, as you saw, so not really a problem. Yeah. So now you see the blocks are kind of well aligned. There are small details to still fix, like for example this one. They are sort of outside of anything, and if this whole thing is how our flowchart looks, I think it's kind of elegant to just have a space here for this legend. And so one very easy way to do that is to just make another block that is here, aligned here. This could be a different color. We can just make it gray, for example. Call it legend. And now there is a neat trick. If you select a lot of these blocks, you'll see this kind of marker here. I don't actually know what it's called, but if you hold and click and then you move to the right, then all these blocks, they sort of change their orientation. So for example, this one would be useful here. So let's do it like this. Again, we'll use the keyboard shortcut we learned earlier, the function and then the up key to bring them to the foreground. Or we can select the legend and press function and the down key, which does the opposite. Either way is fine. And now we can align these kind of actions here. And the way I like to do that, well, if we're lazy, we just select the alignment blocks we want to have them aligned with and align it right. And here we do the same, align right. And again the same, align right. And then we also want to align them vertically. So here we align them to the bottom. And here, thanks to the blue surrounding box, we see that these ones need to be aligned top. And so that's already quite a lot better. Now we see there are some issues with the items that are outside of the block. So for example, this title. This title ideally has the same spacing as well between the title and the block as these blocks have within each other. So we just do it like this, and the title can be left aligned here. So that will be kind of nice. And actually that's wrong because we still have this block here. So let's align this block first. And this block, we want to have it in the middle between these two, exactly in the middle. If we do that by aligning it horizontally, oh, actually that's wrong. I mean, we need to distribute it horizontally. Then you see this arrow here that comes down and up here is exactly in the middle between the two blocks. It's really nice. And now the height is also fixed. So we can now think about the title where it should be. And the title, in my opinion, should go above everything. So it needs to have some space between here. And then we can align the title like here. And we will also align this logo. We can again just top align it this way. And here we align this one to the right. And so it's nicely aligned. And lastly, we have some stuff that's not working out here because of the arrows. So let's just look through the whole diagram once more and see if things if things make sense. So it goes from start to greeting, asks interest. We have these three options. Actually, now I notice in the first video I forgot to draw two arrows here. So let me fix that now. Because after pressing any of these three buttons, the flow goes on regardless. Then after the name is asked, there's a free input field. The email is asked, there's a free input field. Is the email correct? There are two buttons. If it's a wrong email, it goes back. If it's the right email, it goes up here. The user is prompted to choose one out of three options, which are buttons. So they're surrounded red. That's correct. Oh, now I notice I made another mistake. This one, of course, needs to be right aligned with the very right. So let's fix that. And here, next we have an information block. Do you have a question? Yes. Free input, answer information. Then the user is prompted if they have another question. Yes, no. If not, we ask them if they want to have a call. If they want to have a call, yes. Then we go up here. And now we see another arrow is wrong. This is an option, but if they choose this option here, they don't have another option. They actually go to the call. So actually, what we do here is in the case of yes, this is actually the yes. So we eliminate this one, and the yes option is just this one directly. Yeah, makes sense, right? And now to keep that more clear and more aligned, we can move this one to the right as well, and this one goes to the right as well. And the exit block here, this one now has space on a whole one line actually. This is nice. And then we go through here. I want to call. If they choose that option, they will get this link. And now you notice there is this unnecessary gap. Why do we have this gap? That's kind of useless. So we can just group them all, move them all up, like so, and now they are more nicely aligned. And then there is some fancy thing going on with the arrows here. They should be able to answer yes or no. And actually we have the same issue again. So if they have a question, we can just have the yes block to be the first thing here. We can just say that this block here, I have a question, is an answer to this question here. So then this connection here is wrong. And we can just draw a connection from here to here and say this is the answer button to this. And then we don't need this yes anymore because this is already the yes. And this is the no. And we also pull this up to a line here. And then if they press no, they go to another text. That's correct. And so if they press yes, they go here. That is actually what they press. Then we as the bot prompt them to ask a question. They can type freely, AI answer, or AI output sorry, other question, yes, no. All makes sense. And here the last one, that also all makes sense. Yeah, so you see, through that process of coloring and aligning and making it all look nicer, we also discovered some issues that we had with this flow. And that's even a flow I drafted before, or a very similar one that I already drafted before, and so I should have known it, but still, when I spontaneously made it again out of my head, I made these kind of mistakes, and that happens very easily. And so making it more pretty and aligning it is a very good check and fix to find these kind of things and fixing it, as we did just now, as you saw me live doing it right in this demonstration. And now there is just one last thing that I suggest to add to make it look much nicer, and that's actually a frame. And the frame is actually over here. That's also available with the button F, but I don't use it that often, so this one actually I click. And then you can either select custom, or if it's actually suitable, roughly, you can even choose 16 by 4. Then you kind of have the nice format for a presentation as well. So in this case, let's click 16 by 4, and we get this white space here. And so we align it sort of on a top left corner, and we'll make it bigger. And also here, you can just drag it around, but you lose the format. Also here, if you just press Shift and move it, you'll see it keeps the format. And so here we can just make it bigger and then sort of move it in the middle. Like in this case, if you move the frame now, it moves everything. So what we can do here is just choose everything else and sort of move it in the middle and align it this way. And now with that white background, I think actually this yellow doesn't look that great. So we can again change that to some different color. For example, like this one is very subtle, but still visible. So it looks much nicer, I think. And also the title is now quite small. So I'd say let's make that bigger. Yeah. And so here we are. I think if we compare that to where we were in the beginning of this lesson, let's put them next to each other. I think anyone would agree that this is much better structured than the first one. Again, what we did is we added a title and a logo. Then we added these kind of blocks for structure. We added coloring for readability, such as the outlines for the input and the blue color for the text, also the yellow one for start and end. Then we aligned the boxes. I showed you how to do that with a simple ruler. And we added the frame in the end. And so that all is now ready to be shared. And with the white frame, it also looks really nice if you now take a screenshot and share it that way. All right, and that was part 2 of how I use Miro to make flowcharts for my AI assistants. Me personally, I'd already be quite okay with sharing this type of document with a client. It's now easily understandable, it's well structured, it's colored, so it's very easy to explain what's going on and it's very easy to get a quick overview as well. However, there are ways that we can do even better. For example, we can use the golden ratio to align objects. We can use a professional color scheme. And we can also structure the overall flow of the document more logically. Right now, it's kind of like an L shape, right? We start on the left, we go to the right, and then we go down, which sort of makes sense, but if you think about it in the bigger picture, it doesn't make sense. And so that's all kind of things that we'll tackle in part 3 of this video to create the best possible flowchart that I can make. And because I worked 2 years in consulting, I know that this is also a type of document that consulting companies will make for their clients and that they would present to other large corporate clients. All right, and that's it. If you want to see part 3 and it's already out, I'll make sure I'll leave a link up here. If it's not out yet, I suggest you subscribe so you won't miss it. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.